All right. Shall we get started? I feel like we should just get into it, right? Because we've already seen the first the interviews, the many interviews by Elaine Bredehoft, um, going around and talking about the tale of two trials. She had her talking points that she would go down the list and check the boxes. And then we saw Ben Chu and Camille, and they did their interviews that were pretty straightforward, talking about like, hey, the facts are what the facts are. This is what the jury saw, and we're happy with the result. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. This is just gonna be, I don't know what it's gonna be. We'll see. We'll find out together.
More than a week since the verdict. As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
How could it? It's surreal and difficult. In part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course, to my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
Well, that's unfortunate because her testimony sucked and no one believed her, and for good reason, because she was lying. She was very clearly lying during her testimony, and it didn't line up with anybody. Didn't line up with literally anyone, not even her sister. The one that was supposed to be the most supportive of her testimony, the stairs testimony, neither of them could agree who was where and what at what point. So, okay. Sure, Amber. Let's continue.
The real-life drama of the defamation case between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp captivated millions of people around the world.
Amber Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe.
With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that...
Okay, so we've talked about this many times, right? Many times about the let's see here. We'll do this. We'll do it like this. So many times we've talked about the difference between the court of public opinion and the court of law. She was fighting, or they were fighting a battle in both. And so much of this, I've been thinking about this. The fact that they've been focusing so much on the social media aspect of this trial makes me wonder if that's the part that they cared about more than the actual trial itself. Probably. I mean, it makes me also think back on the wardrobe choices that she had throughout the trial. Remember how we said that she was not dressing for a trial. She was dressing for more like I guess what you would expect at like a Me Too rally, right? Like she was dressing more as like this strong, severe, like warrior woman, like in the severe all black clothes and the the hair that was all glamorous. Like she wanted to be like this, like super fierce, which is fine. It's fine. You can do that. There's a place for that. And in a lot of respects, I liked a lot of her wardrobe, not all of it, but a lot of it I did. I loved a lot of her hair choices, to be perfectly honest, just not for court. So I think that like, I don't know if it's her team. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's her that she does not understand the difference between the court of public opinion and the court of law, because there seems to be a lot of this confusion here, right? About social media having an impact on the trial. Now, you can say social media did have some kind of an impact on the trial because the people that were watching, or that social media drew a lot of attention onto this. That meant that the witnesses that came in on rebuttal were people that maybe wouldn't have otherwise known about what was going on, and known that, oh, I actually have some information that could be helpful, and so I want to testify. I want to help out. That there's an impact with that. However, as far as what it sounds like they're suggesting more than anything is that the social media had an impact on the jury, which there is so far zero evidence. So if she goes into that nonsense, absolute nonsense, and I'm saying nonsense because I want to use some spicier words, but I also don't want to get demonetized. But anyhow, okay. All right, let's continue.
This trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok. And the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think
Like I just said, there's zero evidence of that. Zero evidence. And here's a question too, is that, like, why, if this is not someone that is moving the goalposts, why didn't she go into it saying there's no way that this is going to be a fair trial? Right? This is like, it's the sore loser coming up with excuses on the back end. If you are now going to say it is impossible for the jury in this case to come out fairly because of social media and because of the support that Johnny Depp has from his fans, because Johnny Depp is such a celebrity, you have to go into it saying that, because otherwise you're moving the goalposts.
even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
Why didn't you say that going into it? Why didn't you say that from the very beginning? Why didn't you say that the deck is stacked up against us? No one said that. No one did. No one did. You certainly didn't until you lost. So I'm sorry. No.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying burn the witch, death to Amber. After 3.5 weeks,
Wait a second. I wasn't in Fairfax, so I didn't see the signs. I would like to know from maybe Rob or Ian or James, who were around at that time, to see if they actually saw any signs that said burn the witch or death to Amber. Because, and let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to the clip that was showing the signs before, because I feel like if there was truth to that, the media would have, here we go. The media would have shown those spicier signs, don't you think? Burn the witch, death to Amber. I see justice for Johnny Depp. I see I love you and your lawyers, Johnny. Those are loving messages. Let's face it. The media would have taken that and run with it if they saw justice for Johnny Depp people with signs saying something like that. I don't know. This is just me. I'm speculating. Maybe someone saw them. Maybe those did exist. I don't know. Maybe there's one or two in a sea of pro Johnny Depp signs. I don't know. It's possible. So maybe she was, looking out for those, and those are the ones that are going to affect her more. So she saw those. If there were some that were just like a few in a sea of pro Johnny Depp signs, I don't know. I would be very curious to hear from people that were actually there in person, to find out from them if they did see anything like that. Because otherwise, so far, what I'm seeing from this video, from this cut, from this scene right here, and then what she says afterwards, what I'm seeing is something that doesn't exactly jive.
every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying burn the witch, death to Amber. After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal.
Okay. There were rules for decorum. Folks were generally following them, right? So, I mean, are you saying that the people that were in the courtroom were influencing the jury? Is that really what you're saying?
Energized.
Careful.
Can you put into words how that felt?
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through. I have never felt more removed from my own humanity. I felt less than human.
The first part of that statement I was believing, because I can imagine that it probably was absolutely mortifying to go through. I can imagine she probably is still mortified that she's got people like People like me that are reacting to her videos and her interviews and stuff, right? Folks like other people on YouTube, other people on TikTok, other people on Twitter and Instagram, she's getting lampooned. I can imagine that is very embarrassing. But there's something about, and maybe I need Spidey here, but there's something about this last portion right here that she seems like she's like stopping and posing and then like putting on a really sad face and then saying what she said.
Or removed from my own humanity.
Wait, right here.
Wait,
here.
I felt less than human.
Let's go.
Is it just me? Am I being nitpicky? There's something about that feels off. Okay.
Back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
That's a great question.
AKA, I have no idea how to respond to this, so I will have a dramatic pause. How could she possibly be confident at that point in the trial? I mean, she literally fled from the courtroom one day. There's no way that she could be confident, and the question is, why was she not confident? That's going to be the big part of this answer, right?
I wish I could say yes to that. I want to say yes to you, but it would.
Why is she giving? I'm sorry. This is another extra layer of drama. I wish I could say yes to you. I wish I could say yes. Come on, just say yes or no. Just be real for a minute here.
It wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
Do you find...
Why though? Why do you think that? Why do you think that it's unfair for someone to be called out for lying? Even if you think that I was lying, you can't tell me that was fair. I'm sorry. If people think that you are lying, it is incredibly fair for them to tell you that they think that you're being ridiculous for lying. And for lying in such a terrible, terrible, terrible way, not just dragging someone through, not like dragging someone through the mud. That's such a minor way of putting it, right? It's it limits the seriousness of the allegations that she had against another human being, but also for the movement, for the Me Too movement, for all of these people that came together for such a grassroots movement, for something that was very important to a lot of people, that has impacted a lot of people, or I should say that was aimed at remedying something that was very serious that impacted a lot of people, men and women. It's just, no, I'm sorry. You lie about that bullshit, and yes, you deserve to be lampooned. You deserve to be lampooned. If people think that you are lying, they are perfectly well within their right to make you hear about it. That's a terrible statement to make. I am sorry. That is a terrible statement to make, Amber.
That Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
After the 6-week trial, the jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name. Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband. That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial, dealt with the same substantive issues that had even
kind of, but not really. Anyway, let's continue.
More evidence in. In fact, my evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept out. done differently, handled differently by
Different jurisdiction, different country, different laws, different facts, right? Because there were more facts that came in Virginia than there were facts that came in the UK. Also, different standards because of the fact that this was not against her. I'm sorry, Amber. Do we need to remind you, you were not a party to that litigation? You were a witness. Do we need to remind you that you were not cross-examined in the UK, but you were cross-examined in Virginia? I'm sorry. No. So many different things. Apples to oranges.
a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just
Yeah.
had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some,
Oh, so what you're saying is that your attorneys tried to distract the jury from the real issues. This is what you just said. His lawyers did a better job of distracting the jury. So you're saying, what you're saying is that your lawyers tried to distract the jury from the real issues. This is what you're saying. I'm sorry, I don't think that you intended to say that, but that is what you said. I think that the first part of that statement is correct, that yes, his lawyers were better than yours, Amber. I'm sorry. It's true. Rottenborn was actually pretty good, but by God, why was Elaine on that team? I'm sorry. And no, they were not distracting the jury from the issues. We all watched. We all watched together. We called it. We called this trial. We explained it while we were watching it. And no. You know who was trying to distract the jury from the real issues? The side that was trying to make this into something about a movement, something about free speech rights that are not implicated in a defamation case. I'm sorry, but no, you're wrong. Stop it.
some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is
it is a lot bigger than just a Hollywood case about Hollywood brats. It's about someone who lied about another human being in the worst possible way and made him go through hell and destroyed his life. Okay, sorry. Let's continue.
this is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech.
Yes.
It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that
Thank you,
was the
Savannah.
issue in the case.
That's
Yes,
exactly correct.
exactly. You can't go into the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire.
Okay. This is a pet peeve for many lawyers because it's not exactly true. It's not a thing. Because if you go into a crowded fire and there is a fire, you will not be harmed by shouting fire because then there is a fire. Okay, so that came from what was it? It wasn't even a majority opinion from the Supreme Court in a case from a very long time ago. And in First Amendment Supreme Court cases that followed that one, they clarified we didn't actually intend what that sounded like. So the fact that this comes up all the time when people say that the First Amendment does not protect your right to shout fire in a crowded theater, it's like an old wives' tale. It's like an old wives' tale. Also, even if that were true, it's not related to what Savannah just said, Amber. So it just shows that it reminds me of Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I don't think you understand what it means. This is what this whole First Amendment thing, this whole First Amendment argument really reminds me of here is Amber keeps bringing up the First Amendment and she doesn't quite seem to understand what that means. with regard to defamation, especially.
We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means.
Wait, what? I mean, maybe, but like, the United States is pretty unique in our First Amendment rights. We're pretty unique around the world with just how strong our First Amendment rights are. So, anyhow,
means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
The truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I
sure, Amber.
spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
This was the part that I got to, and I was like, what? And this is when I said I need to stop watching it. I need to watch the rest of it live, because this is ridiculous. Let's replay that. Let's replay that again.
What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
So Amber is not only confused about the difference between the court of public opinion and a court of law, she also seems to be confused about reality and fiction. Does she think that Johnny actually is Edward Scissorhands? Like he was actually created by an eccentric inventor in like the attic of his house, off like the edge of some suburban community that had like pastel colored houses. I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused because it sounds like that's what she's saying. What is that? What else could you possibly be meaning? With like this, like what else could possibly be the significance of that statement? I don't understand. I don't understand. So is Johnny every character that he's ever played? Like, is he not just Edward Scissorhands? And is he actually also a pirate? And is he actually also the Mad Hatter? I'm confused. I'm a little confused, Amber. I think maybe not I'm confused. I think you're confused is the issue here. Okay. So yeah. And I don't understand what significance that has to the lawyers that are representing him. Also, like if you also think that he's actually Edward Scissorhands, or that the public thinks that he's actually Edward Scissorhands, I'm a little confused about this whole thing. Like how did you think that was an actual dig? I'm sorry, guys. I've got to replay the question because I want to get back to the question and then the answer, because I don't think that she really answered it here. So let me sorry guys, I'm getting it on a little bit of slow mode here for the mods. Okay, let's go back. I want to take this back here. I think this should be it.
All I spoke, and I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Okay.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer.
Wait a second. Wait, did I go forward? I may have gone forward. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
The truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke.
Okay.
And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Okay.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were
yes.
acting.
Okay.
What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer
She says she was
for
acting.
the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
Okay. Again, I don't understand how that's a retort to Camille saying that was an acting performance of a lifetime. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit too hung up on this one, but I can't understand how she thinks that this is some kind of a dig. Okay. Okay. Anyway, let's just let's continue.
I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress. So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there
Okay.
is evidence. There are tapes
Yes.
in which you acknowledge hitting.
Yes.
There are
Yes.
tapes in which you say,
Thank you,
I
Savannah.
started the fight.
Yes.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear
What?
in those clips are not.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Are you now suggesting that the evidence has been tampered with by the other side? Because that's not a point that has ever come up before, to my knowledge. I mean, to be fair, there were many hearings which we were not privy to because they were not done on camera, right? There were hearings for motions in limine, which basically means what evidence is going to come in, what evidence is going to come out. That was all ahead of the trial. So there was a lot that we were not privy to. However, I to my knowledge, that was not an argument that was going to come up. I mean, we knew about the metadata issue for the photos, right? Like that was something that came up. It came up in motions for sanctions. I mean, and the reason for that is, like, when you get this kind of data, that's audio, video, photos, you need to be able to get to the metadata so that you can figure out whether or not it's real. If her attorneys never asked for any kind of metadata background information on these audio tapes and they took it at face value, never once argued that those were edited, and then she's now going around saying those are edited, that's bull. Complete and utter bull. You cannot come up with some kind of an argument. This is, again, moving the goalposts. Moving the goalposts, moving the goalposts. That's the theme of this interview, is moving the goalposts. And maybe just the theme of like Amber's whole strategy, I guess, throughout this trial. So okay. Now to be fair, she said that the audio that we've all heard that was leaked was edited. But that sounds like that's the same audio that was used at trial. So if she's suggesting that the evidence has been tampered with, that's a serious claim. Let's continue.
Evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again.
Yes.
I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
Dude, Savannah, asking some good questions. These are some good questions from Savannah. I appreciate that she's pushing back on her here.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's.
Wait, what? What? She said, I don't have the resources that you or I have to say that this is black and white. Also, I hope you guys appreciate this freeze frame right here. I didn't intend that, but that's kind of funny. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I got a little distracted for a second, and I'm trying to understand how she's trying to spend this right now. Okay, let me go back. Maybe I paused this too soon.
Blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or
I remember what I was going to say. She was talking about fearing for her life. The woman that gave as a gift a ginormous knife that says "Hasta la muerte" says that she feared for her life. The woman who says who is on audio with Johnny, where he talks about where he it sounds like he's maybe gonna use a knife to hurt himself, and she says, that knife isn't sharp enough, Johnny, let me get you a sharper knife. She said that herself on audio. We all heard it. And you say you're fearful of your life. Come on. I mean, I get that you have certain talking points that you want to stick to, or certain fact points that you want to stick to, but this is BS, man. Like, we all heard this.
I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am the victim of domestic violence.
20-second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt from.
Okay. And this is why in a court of law, there is the rule of completeness, that if one side uses a portion of evidence of audio, video, or a document, and they only put in a certain portion of it because that's what they want to put in, the other side is able to then argue to the judge and say, hey, for purposes of context, it's unfair right now to have this evidence admitted only as it is, and in fairness, so that the jury can fully understand what it is that they are looking at, they need to be able to see the full document, the full audio, the full video, or more of it, if not the full thing, because realistically, putting in a full 3 hours of stuff, maybe not all that helpful. Also, ironically, if I remember correctly, it was Amber Heard's team that was adding in these teeny tiny little clips of Johnny Depp audio while he was on the stand during his cross-examination. And they were like, hey, oh, hey, we're going to play this 10-second clip. And then it was the other side, Johnny Depp's attorneys, that then came in on redirect and said, okay, let's play more of it. And it gave so much more context. So Amber, what in the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Number one, both sides had the opportunity to admit more evidence for the purposes of context. And number two, they had the opportunity to do so. Get out of here.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
it
he
doesn't-
never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What, Ro? Rut-row, Ramber. um, so people have asked about the possibility of Johnny seeking an injunction against Amber. So generally speaking, courts don't like to follow up a defamation case with an injunction, because it does start to get into free speech zones. And as I said, the United States is quite unique in that we have very strong First Amendment rights here. However, if there has been a jury verdict that says Johnny Depp is not an abuser, and then you go around saying that is a lie, you are going against a jury verdict. This is now getting into territory where there could be a possibility, because the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow for these kinds of injunctions after a jury verdict like this. So possibly. I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen, but we are getting into this territory. Okay.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you?
And to answer the question in the chat, someone asked, what is an injunction? So an injunction is a basically a determination by the court that says that one party either is compelled to do something or is prevented from doing something. And it can be, let's say someone wants to knock down a building because they want to rebuild it or something, but it turns out that that building is historic. That someone can potentially, there could be a situation where somebody files an injunction to prevent that person or company or whatever from knocking down that building because of its historical value, and because of, certain, like, an ability of someone else to, like, enforce that even. But basically an injunction could be hypothetically issued to prevent that from happening, basically telling this company, no, you are not allowed to knock down this building, even if otherwise they could have potentially had a right to do it. So you can also sometimes force someone to do something, but courts are much less likely to force someone to do something, because courts don't like to it can get into, like, forced work, forced labor kind of territories, and we have a thing about that nowadays, that we don't really, there's an amendment on that one. There's a constitutional amendment on no forced labor. But more often than not, an injunction could be issued to prevent someone from doing something. So you could get someone after a defamation verdict. Hypothetically speaking, the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow, from my research, the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow for an injunction post a defamation verdict to prevent someone from continuing to defame that person in the way in which the jury actually came out and decided. So the motion would have to be made, but I don't think that the court is going to do that on their own. But so it would be up to, I believe, Depp's team to request it. But if she keeps doing it, if she keeps saying this kind of crud, I don't know.
Instigate physical violence.
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and
Do you mean like Eve Barlow? Sorry, let's continue.
lie in court?
I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as the person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret. I freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong.
What? You said you were pushed to the point where you didn't know right and wrong. Did she just say that? Did she just say she was pushed to the point where she didn't know right and wrong? You're an adult, Amber. You have been an adult during this entire relationship. I'm sorry. And wasn't this whole answer like in response to like her not taking accountability for anything? Okay, let's I'm sorry to keep rewinding, guys, but I need to make sure that I'm hearing these things clearly. The question was about her not taking accountability, and then she's like, yeah, no, I did. And I was pushed. I was pushed. Listen to that language, that passive language, so that I didn't know right from wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I got it. I got to go back, guys. I got to go back.
Behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable.
Wait. Hang on. Sorry. I've got to go back a little bit further. Okay.
Why do you think you won? And the answer I got was because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret. I freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being.
Did she though? What? I don't remember her freely and openly talking about any horrible language that she said during the marriage. I mean, I get that it was a long trial, but I was there for all of it. Okay. Okay. That's your reality.
Pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong.
Okay, so yeah, she did say that. She did say that she was pushed so that she didn't know right from wrong. Okay, so once again, it's not her fault. It's not her fault. She said things that she shouldn't have said, and it was because she was pushed so that she didn't know right from wrong. I don't know. Has any adult ever been pushed to that extent? I mean, like to suddenly not know right from wrong? Like, that can be a legal excuse, but usually that's an insanity defense. It's not just because I was like under pressure, under stress, I was in a traumatic relationship. It's like literally your brain could not tell the difference between right and wrong because there was a malfunction in the brain. Like that is an insanity defense. This is more BS, more nonsense.
Will always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful. What? It was very, very toxic. We were awful
we all agree
to each other. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
A lot of mistakes.
Yes.
But I've always told the truth.
No. Pretty clear that is not the case. You did not always tell the truth. In fact, you lied quite a bit on the stand. Okay. Well, we got to the end of part 1.